Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question here about, this one is, I guess, financial, somewhat real estate. And the subject was tips for first-time renters. So I haven't really I've talked about like being a landlord, managing property, buying real estate investment. You can check out the playlist I have on real estate here, but I haven't really talked about from the perspective of renting. So this email comes from Craig, and he says, I never rented before, and I personally don't know anyone who has. What tips do you have for someone that is a new renter? What should I watch out for? What should I ask? What should I do before, during, or after renting a place? I know in the military, anyone living on base tends to take pictures of everything before they move in. That way they won't be dinged as they leave. Should someone renting do this? Keep in mind, I don't know what insurance, taxes, etc. I would need to look for. Additional info, I'm not going to rent anytime soon, but I might within the next 2 years. So, renting. From a landlord's perspective, I could tell you a few things that you should know about renting. So the first thing is that probably the rent is negotiable. You can probably negotiate it. If you have good credit history, if you're an excellent tenant, if you present a compelling case, you could probably negotiate the rent down at least a little bit in many cases, especially if there's been vacancies and the property's been vacant and you are able to present yourself as an excellent tenant. If you say, I'm going to pay on the first every single month, you can auto debit it from my account, right? There's probably some flexibility there for a lot of people that rent. So you should think about that, or maybe can you get a special? Can you give me the first month free? A lot of times landlords have to do that anyway. So if they've got the prospect of having a good tenant, you have a good chance of having some negotiation there, especially if you're willing to sign a long-term lease as well. If you're willing to sign like a 2-year lease, you could definitely get some kind of a discount on your rent. I think that's probably very highly likely. Or, if you're willing to do some kind of improvement on the place, although that could work for or against you, because some landlords might be like, if you've got the actual skills and the experience, right, that could work for you. Now, what I would say also is that you should know the market rents, right? Know what other places are renting nearby. You need to check the area. One of the things that I've learned from actually being a renter and buying properties and whatnot is that it's not enough to go and visit the property during the daytime. You also need to go at night, especially at like 2 a.m. or something like that. I know this is inconvenient and seems like a pain in the ass, but you got to figure out what is the nightlife like in the area, especially if the rent is cheap, because sometimes that shit will surprise you and you don't want to, like, the worst thing is to go to a new place and to move in and then that night to figure out that there is some wild shit going on in your neighborhood. Right? That's the worst thing. Either you're not going to be able to sleep, or that it's going to be extremely hot, or that the walls are extremely thin. You want to think about some of these things, especially the walls being thin as well. You want to actually test to see if you can hear. You want to probably really investigate the area carefully, especially if you're going to sign a long-term lease, because that's where you're going to be living, right? And there's been several times where I've spent the night somewhere, had not checked it out at night, and had really said, oh, that's interesting. So you want to check that out for sure. Taking pictures of the place, you should definitely do that. When you put down your security deposit, you should expect that probably if you're going to live there for a long time, you're going to have some of that taken, because you're going to have wear and tear. You're going to do some damage to the carpet. You're going to damage the walls. Like, there's going to be stuff that you're going to do. You don't realize this as the renter. So don't expect that you're going to get the full security deposit back, but try to get as much as possible, which means taking pictures of how things were ahead of time so that you can dispute things if there is a problem, right? If you throw up a really big stink, you're probably going to get your deposit back. But that doesn't mean to rip people off. I'm not suggesting that you rip off a landlord by not paying what your fair share. If you have animals and they piss on the carpet and they ruin the carpet, you need to pay for that. So, but be aware of that as well, right? That you're not going to get away with a lot of stuff, right? That if you have animals, you're not supposed to have animals, and they do pee on the carpet, which they will, they're going to come in with a black light, and they're going to figure that out, and you're going to pay for it. So don't try and think that you're going to get out of that. You know, renter's insurance is probably a good idea. You can get it because you can get it so dang cheap. And that's going to cover you in case something happens. You know, when you're renting someone else's place, a lot of stuff could happen that might be out of your control, especially if it's a multi-unit building. And so having renter's insurance is going to help protect your possessions. Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, what else can we say? If you've got something that I didn't include here about being a first-time renter, let me know. Leave a comment below. And if you like this channel, if you like these videos, if you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're doing, click that subscribe button. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.